Welcome to the We're Good podcast, where we are celebrating the everyday brilliance of people working toward a more positive world. If you're looking for the good that's taking place around you, you've come to the right place. Community foundations. You might have heard of them, but what do they do? The Community Foundation of Northern Virginia, or CFNOVA. Its name says a lot. It's about helping build foundations for community. Today, we'll introduce you to someone who was so inspired by CFNOVA when they took action and rallied and responded during a time of crisis. And they're doing it again. You'll want to hear this as we learn more about CFNOVA in today's We're Good podcast. Welcome back to the We're Good podcast. I'm Lee Ann Necessary, your host, and today we are so excited to be joined by the Community Foundation of Northern Virginia, CFNOVA, as it is sometimes called now. And joining us today is Renée Yancey, who is the CEO of CFNOVA. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And Benton Fisher, who is someone who's come alongside. You're going to hear his story. He has come alongside CFNOVA as a donor and now a volunteer. And you have some just great things to say about this organization.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here on We're Good, because CFNOVA is doing good, great things in the community. But as we've talked about, a lot of people don't know what a community foundation is or does. And we want to get into the details of that. And Renée, you've got a great way to describe this. But first and foremost, I think a lot of people don't realize that you respond to crisis and that you come together very quickly, and you actually have with the DC Together Relief Fund. If you can tell us what that is and let our audience know how this all came together.
Absolutely. Well, in the wake of the tragic aircraft accident, the 5 local community foundations came together to say, what might we do to respond, to provide grants and resources for the families of the victims and the first responders? Because what we know, uh, understanding tragedies that have happened in other parts of the country, is that that long-term resource is necessary, be it for mental wellness services or immediate on the ground resources. So, in partnership with others, such as US Figure Skating, other community foundations around the country, the 5 local community foundations, plus Monumental Sports, just recently held a benefit Legacy on Ice event. And I had the honor of being there to see these former Olympians
Mm.
and the members of the figure skating community come together. And with special thanks to Monumental Sports, who helped to make this event a reality where over $1 million was raised.
Mm.
That will be divided among firefighter foundations and the community foundation partners and US Figure Skating to provide continual resource and grants in this time of need. And I will say, having attended the event, the camaraderie and the love that was on full display was inspiring, despite the tragedy of so many lives lost during that accident.
And you say that you came across all different community foundations. I can imagine that, and did it rather quickly. Um, how does that happen, Renee?
Well, the good news is we have a strong network of local community philanthropy, and the CEOs and other team members representing the foundations have an existing relationship. And I would say that's a hallmark of a community foundation. And there are about 900 community foundations actually around the world.
Mhm.
Most are based in the US, but there's not a moment that we can't pick up the phone and call our colleagues, whether it's in Wichita or Boston or just across the river or up I-95 or
Right.
66 or 495. And we knew that there was need and we wanted to come together. And we stood this fund up, the DCA Emergency Relief Fund up within record time. And that core trusted relationship was at the heart of being able to do so.
And we're going to talk a little bit with Benton in a minute about trust and what brought him in. But if you can let our listeners know at this point, what if somebody's like, "What is a community foundation?" I always say it's in the name,
Yes.
right? It's community and it's foundation,
Yes.
but what is it exactly? And I'm just in kind of in a nutshell because I know
Yes.
it can be very detailed, but if you could just let them know while they're listening today.
Sure. Well, have I got a story for you?
Oh, good. I That's what we're here for.
The community foundation structure, if I imagine an elephant, not the elephant in a room, but if I imagine the enormity of an elephant, and if I close my eyes and I touch a part of the elephant, I know a part of that elephant. But to understand the community foundation, it is a collective of multiple lines of service. And I think of us first and foremost as a leader in the community. So the relief fund example is a
Great example.
clear example, or partnerships or engagements with uh, nonprofit organizations and other entities. So that's one part of our work, leveraging the knowledge of the community and the connections, the connector role. And so, as we work with fund partners and donors to bring them together with causes in our community, is another aspect of our work. We're a grant maker. So, if you're continuing to close your eyes and imagine the parts of the elephant for nonprofit organizations who apply for grant funding, that's a significant portion of our role. We also have a research arm that helps us connect the head and the heart. So I have a heart of giving, but I may not know where the causes are needed and where the resources are needed most. So we have a community based data and research center. And then we're a fundraiser. Because we know there is significant need and growing need in the Northern Virginia area, and we're serving that entire geographic area.
Mhm.
And so we raise funding in order to get dollars into community and into the needs that are most pressing,
Yeah.
and building endowments for the future. So it's responding to today's pressing needs and tomorrow's unknown challenges that may arise.
Which just happened.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And so, Benton, we want to bring you in on this because somebody that's saying, wow, they do a lot. How did you find out about the Community Foundation?
Well, Renee's a tough act to follow, but I'm happy to share. I was raised by a career naval officer. My father was a submarine captain, and my mother a Unitarian minister. And so I had a chance to, growing up, hear their experiences about working together, often with people with different backgrounds to solve problems. And that left a mark on me, as well as their point about not to wait, about don't let a daunting or potentially challenging, particularly challenging scenario cause you inaction, but get out there and act.
Yeah.
5 years ago, when COVID started, we were all thrown for a loop. And it was during that spring and summer that I came to meet the Community Foundation. We were all adjusting. We were trying to figure out wasn't going to be the 2 to 3 week delay, but a global disruption of great magnitude. And we also realized that there were many people for whom the disruption was particularly disproportionate. And yet I couldn't even go to the grocery store. So I didn't know how I was going to help, but the Community Foundation did. The Community Foundation started these response funds, and they started them quickly. They raised money quickly, and importantly, they distributed it quickly to groups and to people who needed it. The emergency funding, they raised $2 million in the first 3 months of the pandemic, was so impressive to read about. So I had quite the introduction to the foundation and was just so impressed about this group that had the courage and the know-how to act.
Yeah. That's, and when you say courage and you say know how, you were talking about the Community Foundation and then also who they're helping, which I think is so important. So, Renee, some of the numbers, and we don't want to get bogged down in those, but they're
Mm.
impressive. Since 1978, $100 million dollars that has gone into grants and scholarships. So, let's take a break from the numbers and kind of dig down in. Who are you helping?
The broad based community. I often think about private philanthropy that may have a singular focus or a more narrow focus.
Hmm.
What's a beautiful aspect of the community foundation is we are a broad-based funder. So whether it's providing grants for the arts, the environment, social service needs, including our local food pantries or scholarships for individuals who are considering career options that may include college or may include other types of trade skills and education. So we are across a wide array. And Benton, I was interested in hearing about your father's background as a naval officer. The Community Foundation has a fund for military personnel and their families. And so, if there is a cause that a donor is interested in, we have a fund or can work with them, multi generational families, to establish a charitable fund to meet their interests. I think also about this topic of courage and bravery and trust. And that trust based philanthropy really drives how we consider our work. There are nonprofit organizations who've received multi year grants, as an example, because we know that need doesn't stop in a yearly grant cycle. So we're very closely connected with the nonprofit community, consistently listening and understanding the community's needs.
When you say consistently listening, can you give us an example? What is, you have multiple, but what's one nonprofit that just comes to your mind that has just, you've seen that growth that
Yeah.
people might be really interested to hear?
Yeah, Northern Virginia Family Services and United Communities come immediately to mind as entities who are doing phenomenal work in the community and receiving grants, not just from the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia,
Sure.
but also from other types of public funding and private philanthropy.
What do they do?
So, as an example, Northern Virginia Family Services, as an example, may be running programs that they start from Head Start programs all the way through to adulthood and senior citizen programs. So, a wide array. United Communities, similar in that they are providing a range of safety net services,
Mm.
those services that are sometimes overlooked in a community like Northern Virginia or not well understood that there is need. Capital Area Food Bank as another such example. And so we seek out those entities. The Healing Hub is another, providing crucial mental wellness services along the Route 1 corridor. So we seek out and we keep our ears close to the ground and in communities so that we know where the needs are greatest and we match donors' interests with those needs. So, those are a few notable examples. And then arts organizations, great communities have arts and culture as well. And so, whether it's symphonies or public art installations, we really run the gamut of what makes a community vibrant, loving, livable, and that philanthropy has a role in helping to foster that community connection.
That's great. Those are great examples. And then you said you came to the Community Foundation through trust to help you figure out where your family would like to give, but you're also a volunteer now helping with some of these decisions as to the grants.
Yeah,
How is that? Tell us what that's like.
that's right. Well, I was going to amend Renee's comments about all the entities who they're helping because they're helping us, um, the donors and the volunteers, to identify ways to participate in charitable giving. Our family joined hundreds of others who have made the Community Foundation the base camp for the philanthropic journey through the donor advised funds. In addition, we've been able to use the Community Foundation resources to identify nonprofits. As a board member on a scholarship fund outside the Community Foundation, I've been able to call on Renee and her staff with many questions about best practices, about operations. And so their resources are used by all. And it's just so valuable to be able to have them available to us.
That's wonderful. And you said that That started at the trust level.
It did. So it started the first step that, I'd like to share is that the community foundation listens, that it begins with listening, and it's really, a step that is surprising to someone like me as a newcomer to charitable giving and philanthropy, that they're the experts, they have the lengthy experiences, but they wanted to hear my story. They wanted to understand my needs, my opportunities, where our family was in where our interests lie. And it was through that listening that we developed a relationship. It wasn't oh, we're just going to give here and give there. It was a partnership. And it was
Mm.
the same degree of commitment and trust that the Community Foundation gives to their business partners, to their nonprofit partners, they give to the individual givers and donors and volunteers. It's a partnership. It's a collaboration. It just makes the important work so much more meaningful.
That's wonderful. That's a great.
I love the community foundation model. This is actually
Yeah.
the second community foundation I've worked for. When I lived in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest, I worked for a community foundation there. And I just fell in love with one, community is very important to me. And as you said at the outset, the words say what we do. Community and foundation are there for a reason.
Right.
And that heart of community and philanthropy and the bringing together of donors and causes. And we work so closely with individuals in their most intimate of conversations around their legacy and their interests and their charitable goals and dreams. So, whether it's a scholarship fund or working across generations, even small children are starting to get
I
involved.
was going to say, you had said, let's make this clear. This is not about the dollar amount. This is about anyone can get involved with
Absolutely.
figuring out how to give back.
And I'd use the Business Women's Giving Circle as one of those such examples where a group of women in the community have said, we are interested in philanthropy. Let's collectively pull our resources together and let's make a bigger impact. And their funding is supporting women and girls, particularly in STEM related professions and activities and supporting services. So that's another example of we work with donors of all sizes and readiness levels and capacity levels. And I often say there is a place for you at the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia. Whether you've graduated magna cum laude, summa cum laude, or thank you laude, there is just a place for you. And we welcome you and we hope that you will find a place for your philanthropic giving with the Community Foundation for Northern
That's
Virginia.
Tell me about the database. If people don't know what that is, I want to get that in before we have to close out today. That's really, it's such an important tool that you have, and I don't think people know about it.
It's a great tool, and I alluded to this a moment ago
Yeah.
where we can
You were
link
teasing me,
together
Renee. I liked that. You were like, hang on, I'm going to tell you about it.
our head and our heart. So our hearts drive us to philanthropy, and also understanding from a data perspective. So we may be drawn to a cause, but do we really understand the details? So I'll use understanding topics such as housing or mental wellness or the income levels here within the Northern Virginia community, the shape of children and youth, and the vibrancy of our future generations. So, I encourage listeners to please check out the uh, data center for
It's on the
those
website.
resources. It's available on our website. It's free. You can download our published reports and get informed and stay informed about community need. I'll use this example. We have a pulse survey that's actually uh, just released, and the results are posted that give a sense of with the shifts in public funding that may be forthcoming for some nonprofit organizations, really drilling in and understanding what might that mean for service and continuity of service for residents who are receiving services from nonprofits. So please do check out the Insight Region Data Center. It's an important resource, and we are one of a few community foundations, even nationwide, who have our own research and data center.
That's fabulous. What a tool. So we're about to end up the time, which it goes so fast. But if you were talking about your website, Insight Region, but we're asking this question, you could peel back the curtain. If you could show people something about the Northern Virginia Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Northern Virginia, what would that be? What's the thing that might surprise them? And we've talked about some things today, but what do you think it would be?
I would say love. That really grounds our work. It drives us. It's what drives my team every day, the love of our community and the shining a bright, shiny spotlight on community needs. Sometimes the affluence of the Northern Virginia area, its innovation, technology, employment statistics may overshadow deep community need. And we really feel that it's important for the community members to understand and understand then how they can get involved to help the community. We are building a community that works for everyone, a Northern Virginia that works for everyone.
It's wonderful. That's a very good look behind the curtain. How about you, Ben? What would be the one
I
thing?
would pile onto that and say that ability to discern the need and identify the ability to help is a function of the listening. As I said earlier, the, the the focus and commitment to understanding the landscape, to knowing the companies and the people, the human capital who are going to help solve these challenges is just so critical. And, to me, service to others begins with listening. And we've got the chief listening officer here, and the staff with her are just an incredible group who provide support to so many in the county and region. So thank you.
And thank you, Benton.
That's wonderful. And you both are just such great examples of listening and trust and getting the word out. Is there anything else as far as letting people know how they can connect through the Northern, if they've listened and they're like, I want to know more about this volunteering, I want to know more about their nonprofits. You have them all on your website?
We certainly do, and we encourage you. Give us a call. We have my team. I'm so fortunate to work with such a knowledgeable and dedicated team, and we are here for you at any stage of your giving interest, working with you, multi-generational, around your legacy and a range of resources. And I'd also reference professional advisors. We work quite closely with the wealth management community or other estate planners so that we're side by side with you. We are your philanthropic partner, and we're here for you.
And also nonprofits that might be
Yes,
listening. Exactly. Right.
absolutely.
I like because you, like us, want to elevate the voices of these wonderful organizations that exist out there. There's so many. And so that's what we're good as doing. And we are going to, of course, put your website on our website, we'regood.net, which we hope people will take a look and learn more about the wonderful work that's going on at CFNOVA.
Well, we're so appreciative of
Thank-
this opportunity and encourage you take a look at us, and we're here to be your partner.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today to talk about some good things going on in the community and for the things that you also have done to respond to crisis in need. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, we hope that you will take a look at all that's going on with CFNOVA on our website, we'regood.net. Also, be sure you can subscribe to our newsletter. And we hope that you'll follow and like us and share the good news that's going on around you, because you're good and we're good and we can all make a difference.